I'm Ayush and I have Navankar with me. So welcome to session hangout number 5 of from presented by the admissions committee of IIM Raipur. And so far we've covered VAT PI, economics and the current affairs. And today's session will be marketing and finance. So we'll be starting off with the marketing session and followed by the finance session. Okay, so a basic question to all of you, what exactly is marketing? I mean, most of the people think that marketing is sales or maybe advertising or promotions for that matter, but marketing is a lot more to that. Marketing basically means creating a demand. You create a demand for a product, you design a product for that, and then you sell your product. So marketing involves advertisement, promotions, sales, everything, and a lot more things, which we'll discuss in the following time.
And as you can see in this particular diagram, there is a top line and there is a bottom line over here. So what this actually signifies is a statement, a financial statement. Okay. So the top line gives you the revenues. Okay. And the revenues will be generated when you have demand in the market. And those revenues will come down, boil down to the bottom line, that is the profit. So here, the key tool to create that demand is always marketing. Just remember that.
Okay, so now we'll discuss a very basic question that is asked in most of the interviews. What is the difference between sales and marketing? So let me just tell you, sales is a part of marketing. And as you can see in the slide, marketing and all the other processes, what they do is they identify leads. And the sales guy, in the end, what he does is he simply closes the leads. So a sales guy typically talks about numbers, how many products have been sold. And a marketing guy, on the other hand, creates the need, the demand for the product, and it gives it over to the sales guy to sell it.
Okay, so let's move on and let's see more about it. So this diagram that you can see is a typical marketing framework. So what you can see over here is you have the industry on one side and the market on the other side. So industry is where you would be sitting in, you as managers will be placed at, and the market is the customers or the buyers that you will be having in the market. So the industry will be giving the products and services that they are making to the market, and in turn they will be getting money for it. Okay, and as well as that, industry will be giving out some kind of an information, like whatever they are going to sell, they will be promoting that particular thing, or for conducting market research, they will be giving out some kind of letters or some kind of forms or some kind of things like that to the market, and the market in turn will be giving them communication, telling them what they actually need out of it. So when we define, yeah.
Okay, so when we define a market, we basically have three broad classifications to it. One is a marketplace. It's basically a shop. It's a kirana store where you go and buy products. It's a retail store. Another could be a market space. It's like a digital domain like Flipkart. So all the e-commerce websites where you go, you can browse through the products. There are sellers who are willing to sell their products for a specified price, and you go and buy the product. Then we have the concept of a meta market. So let me just explain it using an example. Let's say you go about purchasing a car. You want to buy a car, and what's the first step that you do? You go to websites like cardeco.com where you compare various cars of this in the same budget range. Then you go to various magazines where you find out more about the car, more the specifications, consumer feedback, and everything. Then you go to buy the product. Then you have the finance guys who are ready to give you loans. So that these are the basic people or the different people from the different industries who are there to help you out in buying that one particular product, which is a car for you. So a meta market is a cluster of complementary products and services that are closely related in the minds of a consumer, spread across industries. What I mean about when I say spread across industries, loan guy is from a banking firm. The car deco guy is from a e-commerce website where they're simply putting up reviews. So these are people from different industries who are there to help you out in buying that particular product which you want to buy.
So now let's come to a question about what is marketed. Okay. So basically everything can be marketed, which you need to understand. So I'll be taking up some of the examples to make you understand this better. Suppose the first one, goods. So as you can see in the picture by the side, that there is a car over there. that you can buy, and that can be marketed by marketers in the industry. Similarly, there can be services. Okay, so you can go to a normal haircut salon and get a haircut, but again, if you tell that I went to some place like a Shehnaz Hussain or maybe a Habib, so that is marketed in such a way that it has a superior quality associated with it. Similarly, events, the T20 World Cup that is coming up in the next month or so. So that is an event that is marketed very diversely all across India, and in fact all across the world. Then experiences. Now, when you go to SL World or a place like that, what basically is being sold to you is an experience that you are buying from those people who are the owners of that place. Similarly, persons. See, it can be from both domains, from a higher quality or a lower quality. Suppose SRK, Shah Rukh Khan. So that person is of a higher quality, as well as KRK or Rakhi Sawant. They also have marketed themselves in a different way. So you can market persons. Places, you have seen ads like Incredible India and Amazing Australia. So these are some places that are marketed. Properties can also be marketed in such a way. Suppose the property on which the Taj Hotel in Mumbai is placed. So that property is marketed in a huge way. Organizations like WHO are marketed, saying that they are looking at the health conditions of the entire world. Even in case of information, you can market information in a way. Say you go to a hospital and you go for an MRI scan. So what comes out after the entire scan is a report that tells you what problem are you facing. So that information is marketed by the company that makes that MRI scanner. And also ideas. I mean, Walt Disney sold an idea of a Mickey Mouse in the form of a human, and we all know what Mickey Mouse is doing to the cartoon world after that. So ideas can also be marketed. So all things can be marketed. That is the basic concept that you need to understand, and how you need to analyze it more and more.
So now we'll be talking about a very fundamental concept in marketing, which is needs, wants, and demands. So let me just give you an example. In the morning, you go out for a jog, you come back. What is that basic need that you have? You have the need of thirst, you need water. So that's a basic need that each and every person has. It's a state of deprivation. It could be physical, food, clothing, warmth, safety. It could be social. It could be belonging and affection. It could be individual knowledge and self-expression. So continuing with this example, now you want water. Let's come down to wants. So you can want a packaged drinking water. You can want a mineral water. You can want a filtered RO water. So these are the basic wants that have arisen from your needs. On the other hand, from a marketing guy's point of view, we have demands. So you want a packaged drinking water or a mineral water or an RO filtered water, and that, if combined with your purchasing power, will create a demand. So if you have the capability of buying a packaged drinking water, that will be a demand that is there in the market for packaged drinking water. Let me give you another example. I love Lamborghini. I want Lamborghini, but I do not have the purchasing power to buy a Lamborghini. So let's say I am the marketing manager of Lamborghini. For the marketing manager's perspective, I am not his customer, because I am not generating a demand. I only have a want, but I do not have a purchasing power. That's why I'm not generating a demand. So wants combined with purchasing power give you a demand.
Okay, so recapitulating what he just said, needs, wants, and demands. So needs, basic deprivation. Like in case of his example, water is your basic need, and then what you want is maybe a mineral water, and what you demand is maybe a Bisleri, because you have the purchasing power or the spending power to spend 20 rupees to buy one bottle of that. So needs, wants, and demands. I hope it is clear to you. Now coming down to value proposition, it is a set of benefits that satisfy the needs, wants, and demands. Okay. So a set of benefits, that is the key term over here. That is a value that is being offered to you from the company. And whenever such an offering comes from a known brand, a known source, that is called a brand. Like when you say, I have got an antiseptic from Reckitt Benckiser, you know that it is Dettol. Okay. When you say that I have instant noodles from Nestle, you know that is Maggi. So that is particularly a brand that has been created. Now moving on to the next example. Okay, so take 2 minutes and think about it. What is the difference between a customer and a consumer? Because these two terms are often replaced with each other. People use customer in place of consumer and consumer in place of customer, and some people don't even know the difference. So it is very obvious and nothing to worry about. I'll give you just a small example or just a small picture so that you can differentiate between it for the next years what you live. Okay. So Huggies. Okay. So this product, this is used by whom? The baby is going to wear this, right? So that person who is going to use it is the consumer. Okay. But the baby isn't going to walk to the supermarket and buy it for himself or herself, right? His parents will go there and buy it. So the person who is spending the money to buy that product is the customer. So the person who is spending the money to buy the product, customer, and the final user of the product is the consumer, right? Now we are going to the classical question of all time, and as some of you must have guessed, it is Leonardo asking you, "Sell me this pen." So how do you answer such a question when it is asked to you in an interview? So let Ayush take over.
Okay, so most of the people think of selling their product in such a way that this pen can fly, this pen can do this pen can do that. But this is actually the wrong approach. The right approach is like what we've discussed before. We have to identify the needs, wants, and demands of the customers. So basically, you go about asking the interviewer what exactly is the need, what exactly do you want from the product.
And basically, what we mean by this is finding out that key utility from the pen that the person wants in front of you. Okay. So don't just tell him that this is 5 rupees, it is very cheap, because what may be cheap for you may not be cheap for him, and vice versa. Okay. So you have to find the utility that the person in front of you wants from that pen. So supposedly that person wants a smooth grip, okay, or he wants it to be long lasting, or if he's an astronaut, he wants it to work in space. So you have to judge what that person is wanting out of that pen from you, and then customize your answer in such a way saying that, okay, sir, I have analyzed your needs, wants, demands. I have analyzed the utility that you seek out of the product, and then sell that particular utility to that customer or consumer, whoever is sitting in front of you. Just remember this, don't go about it in a very vague way. Try to analyze the situation first, find out the utility, and then sell that utility to that person.
So there comes a concept of utility and expectations. So if you talk about from a marketing perspective, the customers have an expectation from the product. What you need to do is you need to satisfy that expectation through the utility that you're offering. So moving on, we have another very important tool which is called the marketing mix. It is the 4 P's of marketing: product, price, place, and promotion. So from a marketing guy's perspective, what is the product? What are we selling? Price, how much are we selling it for? Place, where and how will we sell it? And promotion, how will we let people know we are selling it? So we'll talk about each and every aspect of this in detail in the further slides. So talking about the product is the basic utility that you offer to the customer. If you see on the right hand side, we have a dartboard kind of a thing, which is the levels of a product. So we have a core benefit, then a basic product, then an expected product, an augmented product, and a potential product. Let me just give you an example of hotels. What is the core basic thing that you want out of any hotel? That thing is a good place to sleep. That is a core benefit that should be present in each and every hotel. Now, if you talk about the basic product, so if you go to a hotel, what are the basic things that you require? You need a bed, you probably need a fan, you probably need a washroom, and that's it. That's the basic requirements that you want. Then comes the expected product. So the expectations depend on your purchasing power, and the expected product in the case of hotel rooms would be that you want a TV, maybe you want
You may want a wardrobe, or you may want a locking system that will keep your things safe in that room. Okay. And then comes the augmented product. Now, what was potential at some time is augmented today and will be expected tomorrow. Just remember that. Okay. So for today, the augmented product is maybe a Wi-Fi system or a complimentary breakfast that you get when you check into your hotel. And what is a potential product in this case could be a MasterCard. Say you go to a hotel and they give you a MasterCard and they tell you whatever facility you will be using with the hotel. Maybe you are using the restaurant or using the travel service that the hotel provides. You can do all the payments using that particular card. So that is a potential product that is not being used in the market till date, but could be used in the future. So that is why it is a potential product. And now let me tell you about the left hand side diagram, which shows a product design and a business strategy Venn diagram, and the intersection shows the product strategy. Now, what I mean by this is, supposedly you have a design which is out of the world, which is going to cost you a lot of money to build. Okay. But your business strategy, it says that you want to capture the market using low pricing. Okay. So in that case, the product design and the business strategy don't fit in. So you have to cut some of the features from your product to make it viable for your business strategy to operate in. And that will be your product strategy. So supposedly you are making a phone, say, for 1,000 rupees, and you want to sell it in the market for 100 rupees. You can't do that because you will be going into 900 rupees of loss. So you have to cut down features, make the phone worth something around 90, 80 rupees, and then sell it at 100 rupees and make a profit of 20. And that would be your product strategy. Now coming to price, now we won't be going too much into pricing because you'll be learning a lot of it in the B schools. But there is one particular aspect that you should understand. This matrix that you can see in front of you is called a price quality matrix. On the left hand side, you can see the quality, the product or service quality, and on the right hand side, you can see the price. And then you can see that these are categorized into high, medium, and low. So supposedly there is a product or a service that is high in quality as well as high in price. So that is called a premium quality product or a premium value product. So such an example for that would be an iPhone. Okay. So it has high quality as well as the price associated is very high. So it is a premium product. But in case the product quality is high and the price is low, supposedly for people who are using, say, a Lifebuoy soap, the product quality is very high, but the price is kept very low. So for the people who are buying it, it is a super value product. Similarly, you can go for a product which has a low quality but a very high price. The high-end Lumia phones, the screen cracked whenever it fell, but the price was very high, so the quality was very low, and people said that we were rip off. So each and every block in this matrix shows some kind of value that you get out of the events. Now talking to the next, the promotions.
So if you talk about promotions, first of all, there's a very misnomer in most of the minds of the people that promotions are just advertising. But let me just tell you, advertising is just a very small part of it. What we want to do through promotions is create customer awareness of our product, the offerings that we're giving to the customer. And it comprises of a lot of things such as advertising, sales promotion, personal selling, public relations, and direct marketing. If you talk about advertising, it's a very common notion. You have a lot of advertisements, you have print ads, you have TV ads, which make the customer aware of the product that we're giving. Then we have sales promotions. We have sales promotions in areas, let's say you go to a big bazaar and then you buy a product, you get another product free. So that's a sales promotion. That's the product that is being free, given free with the main product is being promoted. Then we have personal selling. If you know about Amway, what Amway does is basically go door to door and personally sell the products to the customers. Then we have public relations. This applies more to events such as movies and movies where you have public relation events where there are a lot of media personnel over there and where the actors or actresses go about talking about the movies. Then we have direct marketing. Direct marketing basically means like you directly approach your customer. The ways to do it is primarily email marketing. So you send a lot of emails to your customers. This is where you can actually customize your emails to your target customers and give them something which they are actually looking for. So if you go about talk about Flipkart or Amazon, you have Amazon do a lot of analytics behind, and they see the purchasing patterns of the customers. So if they find that one particular customer has buys a lot of products in the FMCG sector or in the electronic sector, they'll send him mails related to those particular sectors. So that is direct marketing.
Now you need to understand one thing, that is why do we have so many different types of promotion tools. And one reason is if you go for advertising, the reach is extremely high. Okay. So if you put an ad on a TV channel, there is a lot of crowd that is going to see that particular advertisement. But that is not the case in case of personal selling. In case of personal selling, you try to get the purchase out of the customer. You don't just need to create awareness, but you also want that person to buy it and motivate him to do that. But in case of sales promotion, it is a very short term thing, because supposedly your sales is going down for a couple of months and you do a sales promotion just to make sure that it gets a temporary hike. Okay. So supposedly you give a toothbrush free with a toothpaste. So there are going to be people who would like that offer and buy that particular toothpaste. So for a short period of time, the sales of that toothpaste will get a hike. And in case of direct marketing, what happens is, supposedly you go to a e-commerce store and you want to purchase a product. You are 90% done with selecting all the products. You have added it to your cart and everything. And at the end moment, someone comes to your house or something happens, and you just leave the purchase at that point in time, close the window and go out. Now, a purchase was 90% made, but still it was not bought. It was not converted to revenue for that company. So the company which is using direct marketing will use analytics to understand that, and then they will go back and send you a mail saying that, see, you had seen these products and you were 90% through in purchasing that. So if you would like to purchase it, please come visit or click on this link and go to the direct purchasing place. So they can convert those 90% leads to permanent leads just by using direct marketing. Now, after that, I'm going to explain the place or the distribution channels that you can use. So you can see that there are three broad classifications of this. One is direct distribution, one is retail distribution, and one is wholesale distribution. So in case of direct distribution, what happens is the producer or the manufacturer will be giving the product directly to the consumer. So suppose there is Apple and Apple has Apple stores. So Apple will be selling the iPhones directly through the Apple stores to the consumers. Okay. So that is a kind of direct distribution where the producer or the manufacturer is directly selling it to the consumer. Now, second comes retail. I'll give you an example of, say, Reliance Digital or eZone or places like that. But what happens is, if you go to a Reliance Digital, you will say to purchase a TV. So you will see TVs from LG, Videocon, Sony, and other manufacturers over there. So these manufacturers have given those TVs to the retailer, that is eZone or Reliance Digital, and they will be selling it to the consumer. And then comes the wholesale distribution channel. In that, what happens is, the producer sells it to the wholesaler to a retailer, and the retailer to a consumer. Now, why do we have a wholesale concept when we already had the retailer in place? The wholesaler concept comes in when the bulk, the amount that you are selling is too large, or the distribution network is too large. Supposedly, you are going to purchase a soap. So there will be thousands of retailers around your house or the place you live in who will be selling that soap. But that is not the case in case of a TV or a refrigerator or an AC. There will be select 5 to 10 stores which will be selling that. So in this case of that of a soap, the manufacturer, for a manufacturer, it will be very difficult to go to each retailer and find out, I mean, like what he wants and sell that product to him. So what he does is, he will go to a wholesaler, sell a lot of bulk to him. The wholesaler will have a network of retailers around him, and he will go to each retailer and sell something to them, and the retailer will sell it to the consumer. So that is the broad classification of direct, retail, and wholesale distribution.
So next up, we have a very important tool in the case of marketing, which is the STP process, the segmentation, targeting, and the positioning process. So starting off with segmentation, so to sell a product, you need to define your market in which you're going to sell it. So first of all, you segment the market. You segment it and you'll get a lot of segments. Let's say 10 segments that you get. Out of those 10 segments, based on the product that you have, you target maybe 1 or 2 or 3 segments which you want to actually put your product to. So after segmentation, targeting, then comes positioning. What you do is, in positioning, you basically occupy one place in the minds of the consumer. A small example, if you think about Pepsi, what comes to your mind? Youth. So that's the positioning that they have in the minds of you. All these things, STP, segmentation, targeting, and positioning, are related to the 4 Ps that we've discussed: product, price, place, and promotion. We'll delve further into the details of these right now.
Okay, so now coming to segmentation, you can see that there are four broad variables into which you can segment your market. So there is geographic, there is demographic, there is behavioral, and there is psychographic. So we'll be taking an example of each so that you can understand it in a better way. So in case of geographic, say you have a restaurant which is named M25. Okay, now you will have the delivery reach to a certain area around that restaurant. You can't go to some other state or some other place and deliver. So say the customers within 10 miles of M25 can be delivered by you. So that is a geographic segmentation that you have done for yourself, saying that this is my reach and that is the place where I can go to. Okay. Now again, that can be subdivided into urban people or rural people. So who are you catering to? Which kind of people can buy the food that you are selling? So these classifications can be geographic. Now coming to demographic segmentation. Now supposedly there is a A level and university students condition that is based on your education level. Okay. Supposedly a job that you are applying to says that you have to be from a A level university. Okay. So that is a demographic classification that they have put in for themselves. Similar can be in the case of age. They might be saying that, okay, if you are from 20 years to 40 years of age, you fall into our segment where we cater to you. Okay. So that can be demographic. Similarly, it can be of gender. I mean, say you go to a shoemaker and he's selling some stilettos or heels. So a guy wouldn't be wearing that, right? A female would be wearing that. So that is a gender-based classification that is done for the company. Similarly, based on occupation. And also, if you want to read further into it, you can go and search on Google about SEC, that is socioeconomic classification. It is basically a combination of these things. You might not be needing it for the interviews, but you can read about it. SEC. Finally, coming to behavioral. Now, customers wanting a value for money impulse buy situation. Okay. Supposedly, I'll take an example of Flipkart Big Billion Day. So on that particular day, you can go and buy some products which are highly discounted on the e-commerce website known as Flipkart. Now you go to buy something and you buy something else. That is an impulse buy situation. Okay. You go to buy a refrigerator, say, and you see that a phone is offered at 90% discount and you buy it. So that is a behavioral decision that you took, and companies look into it by monitoring the rate of usage. I mean, how many times you buy from that company in a month or in a year, or the benefits that you seek out of it, or even the loyalty status that supposedly you are an iPhone user and you won't buy anything else. So in that case, even the impulse buy condition isn't going to work on you. So the loyalty status and the readiness to purchase, so all these parameters are monitored by companies throughout, and they find out your behavioral segmentation variables. Also, it could be psychographic in nature. Supposedly, a person who wants to buy only organic food. So that is a lifestyle choice that he has made, that I'll be eating only organic food. So there are companies who will be looking into those segments of people who would be buying that particular product from them. That is categorized by their personality, their lifestyles, their attitudes, the class they're living in. So always remember one basic factor, that segmentation is not just about geographic or demographic or behavioral or psychographic. It is always a combination of all these. Ayush will explain it to you with the help of an example. You can.
So if you talk about the restaurant example, let's say I have a restaurant M25, and one of the segmentation that I've done is geographic, because I'm only able to deliver my food items in the 10 miles of radius that I have. Then let's say M25 serves only junk food. So if you talk about junk food, you'll have to do a demographic segmentation as well, because not all people of all age are going to buy junk food and eat junk food. So what you'll do is you do a market survey, you find out the basic age range in which the people buy and then you also go into the personality and the lifestyles of the people. So there are people who might not on junk food and who might want to eat high class junk food, where you have a high quality of products that you're offering. So a segmentation over here would be geographic, demographic, and a psychographic. So the whole point of this being, whenever you do segmentation, you do it as a hybrid of geographic, demographic, behavioral, and psychographic. Now moving on to targeting. So the whole point of STP is that you define a lot of segments and then you target one or two segments in that. So once you've defined your segments, you have basic 4 strategies of targeting. One is the first one, as you can see, is undifferentiated marketing. Let me take the example of Maggie. So if you talk about Maggie, you cannot actually segment the you cannot segment the market for Maggie. A 2-year-old or 3-year-old kid eats Maggie. People, teenagers eat Maggie. A lot of adults eat Maggie. So this is undifferentiated marketing, where you cannot differentiate the market into different segments and target one segment out of that. So you have to target the entire market. The other strategy would be differentiated marketing. We have segment 1, segment 2, segment 3. Let's take the example of Procter and Gamble. Now, Procter and Gamble owns Gillette. Procter and Gamble, sells Tide as well, and Procter and Gamble, sells Whisper as well. So these are three different products that the company has. They have a lot of products, but these products have different segments to it. So the marketing for each and every aspect or each and every product would be different for each and every segment.
See, for the example, Gillette. So there will be a different segment that is going to buy that product from them. Similarly, in the case of Whisper, which is a sanitary napkin, there is a different segment that will be buying that. Again, in case of Tide, there's a different segment of people who are going to buy that. So a company can go for differentiated marketing so that they can find out which segment is going to buy which particular category of product from them.
Okay, now coming on to the concentrated marketing. Let me take the example of Pepsi. Pepsi sells all its products, you know, with the example that they focus on youth. So if you talk about segment 1, segment 2, and segment 3, let's say segment 2 is youth. So Pepsi will focus all its advertisements, all its promotions on the concept of youth. But that does not mean that someone who does not fall in the category of youth cannot drink Pepsi, or Pepsi will prohibit him or her from drinking Pepsi. But the whole point of it is that they want to create a positioning around youth, so that each and every consumer, each and every person who knows about Pepsi has a perception that Pepsi is related to youth. That is what concentrated marketing is.
See, in the case of concentrated marketing, there is always a core market that you have. So if you look at the campaigns that Pepsi puts in, Youngistan ka wow or ye hai Youngistan meri jaan, everything talks about the youth. Okay. And how do they define the youth is completely upon them. They can do it, say, from 15 years to 40 years, or they can say from 20 years to 45 years. It is completely upon them. But there is a clear cut definition of what is youth for them, and everything is targeted to that core market. If something from the other markets falls into that core, it is good for them, no problem. But again, the strategies of the company will be done only for that particular segment, and that is concentrated marketing.
Okay, so the next strategy is consumer marketing. This is a personalized or customized kind of a approach to marketing. Let me give you an example. Let's say I am Airtel, and I have two customers. One is giving me a revenue of 100 rupees per month, and one is giving me a revenue of 10,000 rupees per month. Now, let's say for 1 month, that 10,000 customer gave me a revenue of 6,000, or let's say 8,000, which is a deviation from what was normal for the past few months. So what I'll do is I'll directly contact that customer, ask him or her what the problem was, why the number of calls were made less, and what extra services he or she wants from Airtel. So this is exactly what is called consumer marketing, where you personalize or you customize your customers who give you a lot of revenue, so that your revenue share does not get lost.
Now, finally, we'll be talking about positioning. And as you can see in the lower left diagram over here, there are three circles forming a Venn diagram. One is a market demand, the second is competition, and the third is key strength. Now, what I mean by this is, see, there has to be a demand in the market for you to give an offering to them. Okay. So that particular demand has to be existing. Second of all is it should be unoccupied by competition at that point in time. Because if you want to create a particular positioning for your brand or for your offering, if a similar offering already exists in the market, which has already occupied the minds of the consumer, it will be very difficult for you to replace that. So you find out what is the unoccupied position in the market that is unoccupied by the competition. And third, you can't do just these two things. You have to have the key strengths in yourself to give that offering to the market. Okay, supposedly you think that, okay, there is the demand, there is the gap, but I don't have the capability to provide the service. So then there is no meaning. So when all these three things, the demand, the unoccupied space of the competition, and your key strengths, when they overlap, the overlap position that is created in the market, that is called market positioning, where you try to position your product. Okay. Now you will get clear about this concept by using the perceptual map that you have over here. On the y-axis, you can see that there is price, and on the x-axis, you can see there is quality. Okay. So high price and low quality and high quality. So the dark blue dot that you can see, that is your current position, shows that you are offering something which is slightly below average in quality and slightly below average in terms of price. Okay. Now, say you are a mobile phone manufacturer. So slightly below average in quality and slightly below average in price would be something like a Micromax. Okay. But on the first quadrant that you can see, the high price and high quality quadrant, you see that there is a small dot on the right hand side. So that is, say, something like a iPhone, which is high price and high quality. Okay. So similarly, all the light blue dots that you can plot in this graph are the competitors that are present in the market. And the red dot that you see, that is showing a slightly above average quality and slightly below average price. That is low price and high quality. That is the ideal position where you want to go into, offering a super value to the customer. Okay. So your transition from your current position to your ideal position, that has to be monitored by your marketing strategies as well as your business strategy. How do you transform the image that you have of a low quality, low price phone to a high quality, low price phone? So everything that you do for the next, say, 1 year, 6 months has to be directed towards creating that kind of a top of the mind awareness in the minds of the consumer. It is called as TOMA, the top of the mind awareness. I mean, let me give you an example for this also. When you go to a market and think about instant noodles, you will always think about Maggi. Whenever you think of, say, a mango drink, you will think of fruity. So this is something that happens to you normally. Whenever you think of antiseptic, Dettol is the first name that comes to your mind, right? So that is the position that the company has achieved in the minds of the consumer. That is the top of the mind awareness that they have created. And every company in the market seeks to do that through its positioning. Okay. So if Micromax today has created a position of low quality, low price, to go to a high quality, low price would be very difficult for them, and they have to align their entire business strategy to do that. So this is how you use a perceptual map to find out where you are, where your competitors are, and where you seek to be.
Okay, so the next slide is a replication of what we had seen earlier. So after you've gone through the segmentation, targeting, and the positioning model and the 4Ps model, from a marketing guy's perspective, what you do is you basically, first of all, segment your market. You'll get a lot of segments, let's say 10 segments. Then you decide the target market where you have to actually sell the product. Once you've defined your target market, you create a positioning. How do you create a positioning? This is where the 4Ps come into the picture. You define your product, you define a price, and that price depends on the target market which you're targeting. Then you define the distribution or the place the product is going to be sold. Then you have the promotions or the PR activities that create the awareness about the product. And ultimately, at the end, you create a positioning in the minds of the customer. So this is the basic framework that we had discussed earlier, which you guys should keep in your mind while discussing any marketing campaign or any marketing agenda. So that's all from our side. Now the next session on finance will be taken up by Balkrishna and Kavisha.
And also, if you have got any kind of queries, you can direct those to us. You can visit the Facebook page of I am Raipur Admissions, and there is a sheet over there. You can post your queries on that link. We'll be answering it on our group.
Hey, thank you, Nabankar and Ayush. Hope you enjoyed the marketing session. Now we'll move on to the finance session. The VAT and PA hangout session by the finance. Now the agenda is to make you familiar with some of the accounting terms. This is the first task for us, and after that we'll move on to the weighted average cost of capital, which is an important concept in finance. And then we'll move to the economic order quantity model, right? Now accounting. So why is accounting related to finance? We'll use some of the accounting terms in finance just to make our strategies, financial strategies. So it's essential to know something about accounting, right? Now, we are the accounting majorly deals with recording monetary transactions. Monetary transactions in the sense, if something is related with money, if you can measure something with money and you are doing your business, and if the transaction occurs, you are selling something or you are purchasing something, then you will account that. Now, the accounting has some concepts and principles as well. So some of the accounting concepts here, I have noted down some of the accounting concepts here for you, and which are useful, while you are accounting. And next, the first concept is going concern concept. Here, the concept is that the estimation is that the company or the entity will continue its operations for the foreseeable future. So in the coming future, say some 10 years or 20 years or 30 years, the company will run its operations. This is called going concern concept. And now comes the separate entity. The separate entity concept, it deals with that. Suppose I'll try to give an example here. If you are an owner of a company and the company is always different from the owner, this is called the separate entity concept. You can't just make sure that you can't just take an owner and take him directly as a company. Suppose, can say one example, say S&P. So even Shapoorji and Polanji company, suppose Tata Motors, you can't, just you can't make that the Tata is a person, and so Tata as a person is completely different from the entity, right? And now the accrual concept. Here, the accrual concept deals with, suppose, again, I'll try to deal with an example. Say if you are getting a revenue of suppose if you have you are getting a revenue of some 10 lakh rupees as of now, but you won't get the cash as of now. Say suppose you are just making an invoice statement of 10 lakh rupees, and the supplier or the customer has told you that he'll pay you within 1 month or 2 months. Say then in this case, what will happen is you'll account or realize the transaction now itself. You'll enter the transaction into your books right now, but you'll realize the cash when it comes. This is called accrual concept, and this will make sure that all the transactions in the fiscal year or the financial year are noted in that particular year only, right? Next, moving on to the dual aspect concept. So every transaction, whatever the transaction is, maybe you're selling something or you're purchasing something. So every transaction will affect two sides of the statement, that's called debit and credit. So every transaction will have debit and credit. Next, now comes the historical cost concept. Suppose if you are purchasing an asset for 1 lakh rupees, and now the market value might increase to 3 lakh rupees or 4 lakh rupees, but you won't consider it the market price as of now, and you'll always keep in mind that you'll keep the historical cost, that is the 1 lakh rupees, every time you are mentioning that asset in your balance sheet or something. So we'll discuss in brief and with more examples in the coming slides as well. Now, the accounting equation and the block diagram. See, this is the main block diagram which is in the accounting. You can have the questions on. So the sources, say the liabilities or sources. You will get the liabilities or the sources of fund. You need some fund, right, to start a business or to start a project. So you'll get all the sources of fund, and you are utilizing your sources to create assets. So sources on one side and assets on one side. So sources and assets are always important while you're dealing with the accounting equation, wherein in your business, you will incur expenditure as well as income. So the incurred expenditure and income is essential while doing this accounting equation. See, the simple accounting equation here given is liabilities plus the profit or loss incurred is equal to assets. This equation holds good every time, and you need to make sure that this equation is important from your interview perspective of view also. And the one more thing important is the sources and the assets. So how well are you utilizing the sources, and how well are you creating assets, and how well are you utilizing those assets to get your revenues, and how well you are managing your expenditure as well. So these terms are generally, in the TOMA of the financial perspective. So, and you need to know these terms first of all. Next comes the accounting cycle. So initially you'll have these transactions. So a company can have several transactions, maybe 10,000 transactions per week or per year, depending on the size of the company. So once you get the transaction, a transaction might be a different example. You can say that you're selling some 300 units to a particular customer. If you're purchasing some 10,000 kgs of raw material from a supplier, these are called as transactions. This transaction, you call a transaction when you're able to measure it in money transformation. Now, once you get these transactions, you will enter these transactions into your journal, which is a initial entry book. And after that, you will have this ledger account. A ledger account is nothing but a book where you will have several accounts, and in every account you'll have this debit and credit. Suppose, example, you can say that there is a capital account. So in this capital account, you'll always mention if something related to capital happens in a transaction, then you'll make sure that this account is affected. One more example you can tell is about the cash balance. Suppose you can say a cash account, a cash is an account where this cash account will be updated every time when an account when a transaction in cash occurs. Suppose example you can say that now the company is, suppose the company is having some 6 lakhs hard cash with them, and if you are purchasing some 30,000 rupees and if you are paying by cash, now the 30,000 amount will be deducted from the 6 lakhs. So everything in a ledger is divided into accounts, and you can say that the final balance in the ledger is nothing but the final balance of the account as well. So if the cash account tallies that you are having 6 lakh rupees as of now, that tells that you are having 6 lakhs as of now, right? And next, moving to trial balance. Trial balance is the summary of all the accounts that you're having in ledger. You can say that it is a checkpoint. You can use it as a checkpoint where always the trial balance debit side and the credit side will match. Now, if this is not matching, then you can go back to ledger or the journal and see where you have done the mistake. Because every time you have a transaction, I told you that it's a dual aspect. So it will affect both the debit and credit. So if the debit and credit are not getting matched in trial balance, then there is something wrong with your journal entries or the ledger entries. So you can use it as a checkpoint as well. Now, after making this trial balance, you'll move into the final accounts, where the final accounts will be divided into 3 parts as shown: the trading account, P&L account, and the balance sheet. Nowadays, you can say that we are not, the corporates are not using these journals and ledgers and trial balance as in such, because the software, the importance of the softwares and the IT coming into the picture. So every transaction is entered into a system wherein you'll get the updated details of the balance sheet and the profit and loss straight away, and you can get that. So
it also depends on the accounting standards that are followed by a particular company. It's not sacrosanct whether a company will follow Indian accounting standards or the other accounting standards. So depending on the accounting standards that they follow, they might skip 1 or 2 of these accounting cycle steps. So they can move directly from the journal onto the PL account and then to the balance sheet.
Otherwise, you can say that this is the general accounting cycle which every company will follow. But nowadays, you can say that the journal and the ledger and the trial balance are no more used in so many corporates. Now the profit and loss statement. So why this profit and loss statement? Why are we using this profit and loss statement? So the profit and loss statement, as you can see, that it's having 2 components, major components. One is expenses and one is income. So by these expenses and income, we'll get to know whether the company is profitable or is it going to loss. If the expenses or the expenditure incurred is greater than the income generated, then the company is going into losses, right? And if the generated income is greater than the expenses, then the company is going to profits. Some examples of expenses are you're purchasing something, or you're paying salary to your employees, or you're paying interest on a loan. So other office expenses, something expenses like this. And the income you generated maybe through the sales, through the core sales, you can say that. Otherwise, you can sell some assets, and while selling some assets, you can gain something out of that, and you can consider this as an other source of income. So with this income and expenditure table, you can get the profit, say in the leftmost before tax. Once you subtract all the expenses from the income, you'll get the profit before tax, where you have to pay the taxes, the corporate according to the corporate taxes, and then you'll get the profit after tax. You can say that this is the profit and loss account, and this is important for you, because the profit and loss account, you can say that if you can compare the profit and loss accounts with the particular with the simultaneous years. Say suppose if you are comparing the profit and loss account with the 2013 and the 2014, then profit generated or the income generated has increased, the sales generated has increased. So accordingly, you can see that your business strategy, how is it going and how profitable is your company, and you can always compare this with the industry average, and you can say that your company is doing well with respect to the industry average. And in this condition, you can say that say suppose a company A might be getting a profit of say only 300 crores, but a company B is having a profit of 3,000 crores. Which company is profitable? You can just say that the company B is profitable, but I didn't mention any industry as in such. A is an industry where the industry average is only 150 crores. So it is, we have to, every time we need to compare the profit with the industry average rather than other company as in such. So next, now we'll move on to the balance sheet. So this balance sheet, after getting the profit from the profit and loss account, we'll move on to the balance sheet, where we can say that the assets will be on one side and the liabilities will be on the other side. So what are the assets? The assets are nothing but the things you own, and the liabilities are the things which you are liable to pay after some time, right? The assets are divided into two things. One is current asset and one is fixed asset. Current asset is a thing where you can say that if you are able to convert it into cash within 1 year, it is called as current asset. And if you are getting something, if you are generating income something from that asset in the foreseeable future, some 5 to 10 years, say example like furniture and building or the patents, then it is called as fixed asset. And now the liability side. So again, the liabilities are divided into three categories here. The current liabilities. The current liabilities, again, if you are liable to pay to an entity or to a supplier within within a period of 1 year, then it is called as current liabilities. These are called as short-term liabilities as well. And the long-term liabilities or the liabilities you have to pay say within for more than 1 year. Suppose you are taking a loan from the Canara Bank or UCO Bank or State Bank of India for a period of 15 years, then we'll consider it as a long-term liability. And one more thing is the owner's equity. This owner's equity is nothing but the equity that is given by the owner at an initial period of time, or that can be updated every time. Say suppose the owner has invested some 10 lakhs rupees while starting the business, then it is called as owner's equity or the capital. And if he has given some one more 10 lakhs rupees during this year, then the owner's equity will increase from 10 lakhs to 20 lakhs. And now these reserves and surplus, these are the accumulated profits. So if the company has been running from 10 years and the accumulated profit over the period of 10 years is say some 1 lakh or 2 lakh rupees, then you will mention it as a liability, because you are liable to pay it to the owner's equity, owner back. So why are we calling the owner's equity as a liability? I already told you that we need to maintain the separate entity concept. The owner is always separate from the business. So if you consider business as a perspective here, now the business is liable to pay to its owner, right? So the owner's equity will come into liabilities. So now the accounting equation, if you remember, the assets should be equal to liabilities and the profit. Here the profit has been mentioned in the reserves and surplus. So the assets should be equal to liabilities and the accumulated profits every time. So the accounting equation will hold good every time, right? Now we'll try to show you some profit and loss statement and the balance sheet of a company. Due to some glitches, IT glitches, we couldn't share you that, but we did in a short while, and you can see the right side corner document where you will get the profit and loss statement and the balance sheet of IOC company, Indian Oil Corporation. Where you won't see the same same representation over here because they'll be following some accounting standards. I have prepared this PPT in a sense to just make you familiar with these accounts, and it will be an easy representation for you to remember these things. But this is not the general representation of the profit and loss account and the balance sheet because they'll be following some accounting standards. But the terms are more or less similar, right? Moving on to the cash flow statements, we can say that, excuse me. Okay, so the moving on to the cash flow statements. This cash flow statement, you can say that, suppose if a company is getting a profit of some 10 lakhs rupees, we won't see the cash statement is increasing by 10 lakhs because there are some transactions or some accounts in the profit and loss statement, as you have seen, that won't affect the cash itself. Example, depreciation, or the sales itself. I have told you that we need to consider the transaction when and where it has happened. So you can say that, suppose if you are selling some 10 lakhs rupees worth units to your customer as of now, but you won't get the cash now. So you'll mention it as a revenue in your profit and loss statement, but you won't get cash, right? So how to see where the cash is going and from where the cash is coming? So that's why the cash flow statement is very important. So the cash flow statement is basically divided into three parts. One is cash from operations, cash from investing, and cash from financing. So cash from operations is the cash you'll get from the core operations of your company. Suppose if you're into a manufacturing company or a trading company, if you're trading only the furniture, then the cash generated from the operations or from the selling or the purchases of the furniture is considered as the cash from operations. And next, the cash from investing. Say if you're having some extra cash in your hand and you are investing it in some other shares and you're getting something in some income out of that. See, this is nothing but the other source of income where I have mentioned in the profit and loss statement as well. So how are you investing into the other companies? And if you're generating income by doing so, then you will consider it as cash from investing. Similarly, the cash from financing. Cash from financing, you can say that if outside company is investing in your company, or you're borrowing something from others, then it is called as cash from financing. And if you are paying something to them, interest, then you'll consider this cash from financing as well. So this is broadly divided into cash from operations, investing, and financing, where the total will give you the cash, the entire cash flow that has happened in the particular year. Suppose in the year 2013 you are having a cash of 6 lakh rupees, and in the year 2014 you are having 20 lakh rupees. How did you get this 14 lakh rupees and in what form? So this can be answered. This question can be answered by this cash flow statement, and you can divide that into three components: cash from operations, investing, and financing. And you can always see that whether your investing is strong or whether your operations is strong. So generally, you can say that if the operations is strong, then you have to go with that, and you need to make sure that the cash from operations is positive every time, because this is the core operations we are having. And even if you fail in investing or financing, you need to make sure that your operations cash is, which is good for the company in the foreseeable future. Next, we'll move on to the yes, these are the key takeaways from the accounting thing as of now. Number one is balance sheet. Always remember that the balance sheet is the statement of financial position. So if a company wants to see its financial position as on date, then it has to go to the balance sheet, wherein it will get all the assets, liabilities it has to pay, and the percentage of assets in the sense, percentage of the fixed assets and the current assets as well. So every time if you say the balance sheet, you have to tell the balance sheet as on date. Example, today's date is suppose 21st February. So if you're telling that the balance sheet of the IOCL company is there, then you will have to say that the balance sheet as at 21st February, right? So until now, what are the assets it has bought and what are the liabilities it got, and the financial position of the company is called the balance sheet, right? Whereas income statement is completely different from the balance sheet. It is nothing but the profit and loss account. So this profit and loss account is calculated for a given period. Say suppose you'll be getting these quarterly results and the yearly or annual results for a company, right? So in this case, what will happen is the profit and loss account is calculated within a quarter, say Q3 or Q4. So profit and loss account, this condition will completely tell you that the profit and loss account, there is nothing to worry about that. Actually, the T account is nothing but the graphical representation of the account, wherein the account heading has been written on the top of the T account, and the left side of the account is mentioned to debit side, and the right side of the account is given to the credit side. Like I have given the example already. If you say that, suppose the cash account is there, then the cash account is nothing but a T account, wherein all the cash you get will be writing on the left side, and all the cash you are giving out will be written on the right side, and the balance you can say that it will be debit minus credit, right? Now moving on to the cost of capital concept. See, suppose if you are getting a capital, if you are investing a capital into a project or a business. Say suppose 10 lakhs has been invested by you. This is called as equity, as I already told you. Equity is nothing but the capital which is invested by you or your relatives or yourself, and you will borrow something sometimes, to maintain your business. This is called as debt. So you won't get anything for free, right? So you're expecting a cost of capital. So your owner might be expecting some 15% or 16%. If it comes to a public listing company, a shareholder might expect some 15% or 16% return out of it. Similarly, debt. An example of debt is if you are taking a loan from SBI or Canara Bank, the interest of the loan might be some 11% or 12% per annum, right? So they are expecting a cost of debt. They are expecting a return of 12% out of that money. So this is called as cost of debt. So the cost of debt and the cost of equity. If you merge both of these in a proper proportion, then you'll get the cost of capital. This is also called as weighted average cost of capital. Some more examples of debt are bonds, debentures. So these are all debt instruments, we'll call them as. If a company is issuing bonds, then if you buy some bonds, then it is called as debt. Again, if you are purchasing bonds. So in this condition, what will happen is, suppose the debt equity ratio is something like 40:60. So, and your cost of debt is 12%, if your cost of equity is 16%. So according to the proportion, you will calculate the weighted average cost of capital. Why is it required to calculate the weighted average cost of capital? You have to ensure that your return is cost of capital. Then only you'll get the profits. If you are able to generate the income and the profits which is greater than the cost of capital, then you can say that the company is actually profitable, because the cost of that is expected by the equity and the debt, you are achieving that, and you are achieving more. And now the EOQ model. Even though this model is not related to the finance as such, but we want to cover this model in the inventories interviews perspective. Sorry. So this EOQ model, you can say that it is more or less depends on the operations perspective. It is related to the operations, but you'll see some calculations as well. So what is EOQ model? It is also called as economic order of quantity model. So this is majorly, you'll use this EOQ model to maintain your inventory. And the main objective is to minimize the total inventory cost. Suppose I'll try to give an example to this. Suppose you are selling a furniture. You are a company which is selling furniture, right? So you don't know how much to maintain the stock because someday maybe 500 members can be asking for the furniture, and some other month maybe only 1,000 members or 100 members might be asking for the furniture, right? So for that you need to forecast your sales accordingly, and you need to maintain the inventory. Suppose I can maintain some 1,000 chairs as of now, or 100 chairs as of now. So what difference it will make? So there are two things called as ordering cost and the holding cost. So if you are holding more inventory, then suppose if you are holding 1,000 chairs, wherein your monthly demand is only 500 chairs. So for the entire 1,000 chairs, you have to incur the holding cost because you're carrying that. This is called as holding cost or the carrying cost and this is a part of inventory cost. But at the same time, so you can say that no, I will order 10 chairs every time, and if they are completed, then I'll order again. So in this case, what will happen is the number of orders will increase. It will lead to the more ordering cost. You can see that in the graph, the ordering cost is decreasing if the queue is increasing, and the carrying cost is increasing if the queue is increasing. So you need to make a point wherein the total cost is minimized, the carrying cost plus ordering cost, which is called as inventory cost. If it is minimized, then that is the point you have to aim for, and by that we can get this Q is equal to root of 2 into annual demand into ordering cost per order by carrying cost per unit. So you are dealing with the annual demand, ordering cost, carrying cost every time. So you have to order Q every time you hit 0 point. Say suppose the Q you got here is some 500, something like that. So you will order 500 chairs every time, and you can see that the sharp increase in the supply line, right? That is when you order the Q. So if you're ordering 500 units, you'll get the 500, and the usage line is the demand. You can say that the monthly demand is around 500, wherein it is considered as a linear here. So every day some 20 odd chairs you are selling. Then by the end of the month, you'll be able to sell all the 500 chairs, and again you'll order once you hit the 0 point. So this is where you'll get you'll maintain the incur the minimum cost when it comes to ordering cost and the carrying cost as well. Now, yes, moving on to lead time and reorder point. So until now, we have told that you will order Q if you hit 0, right? But in real cases, this is not possible because a supplier will give you a lead time. If you order now, you won't get it immediately. So this is called as lead time. If the supplier gives you a time of some 2 to 3 weeks or 2 to 3 days, depending on the situation or the supplier, then you have to make sure that the lead time should be covered in your reorder point. So by this reorder point, you will order if the number of units is at a particular point. Say suppose here the lead time given is some 2 weeks. So you'll calculate accordingly, and if you are having 2 weeks of stock as of now, then you will reorder, right? So the new ordering point is the reordering point. You won't order when it comes to 0. You will order when it comes to the reorder point. So when you have to monitor inventory every time, and if it comes to the reorder point, you'll order Q again. So you'll order Q every time if you hit the reorder point. Next is the safety stock. So you'll order at the reorder point, right, every time, and you can say that sometimes the demand is uncertain, and you can say that sometimes the lead time might increase because of some other conditions, say some band or some strike or something else, or it is a problem from the supplier itself. So in this case, you should not lose your opportunity cost. The opportunity cost is nothing but if a supplier comes in, if you don't have anything to sell, then it is called as opportunity cost. You're losing a revenue, right? So in this case, what will happen is we need to maintain some safety stock, which will the safety stock maintenance depends on the service level completely. So how much service level you are able to attain depends on your safety stock. So if you are ordering at the reorder point, you can see that in the second cycle, wherein the supply came after it goes to safety stock. So if the safety stock is not there, then you would have incurred the opportunity cost. You would have incurred loss because you missed an opportunity to sell to get revenue, right? So you are moving into safety stock. You are moving into a buffer of safety stock, and you are coming back again, and you are getting the full stock now. So this acts like a buffer for you, wherein you can use that safety stock to maintain your revenues. There are limitations for this EOQ model as well. And one thing is the uncertain demand. The forecast in the demand is always, may not hold good every time. So for this uncertain demand, this EOQ model cannot be used. And you have to keep track of inventory every day, every time in this condition. And it is not possible if you are having some 10,000 different items every time. So you need to maintain an Excel sheet like something like that, and you have to order every time the inventory reaches the reorder point. So this is practically impossible for a person or for a system. And now one more limitation is you'll order every time when you hit the reorder point, right? So you're not having a particular fixed interval, which in this practical world is difficult. You can say that the supplier relations will be spoiled because of this, because a supplier might be willing you to provide chairs every 1 year, every 1 month or 1 week, suppose something like that. But if you are ordering every time in a different week, suppose if you are ordering on Tuesday today, on Tuesday this week, and Thursday next week, then it will be problematic for supplier as well, if you see from the supplier's point of view. So these are some of the limitations of EOQ model. So there are several methods apart from the EOQ model, but this is the basic model which will be followed by some of the companies, and even this holds good for some of the companies. And the remaining models are nothing but the extension of this EOQ model, you can say that, something like that. So until now we have covered the accounting concepts, some of the key accounting concepts, the profit and loss account, balance sheet, and the cash flow statements. And after that we moved on to the cost of capital and the EOQ model. So hope that you enjoyed this session. And you can, if you have some queries regarding this, you can ask this in the form that has been floated in the admissions page, and we'll upload this PPT in the admissions page and the call getters group as well. Thank you very much. Hope you enjoyed this session. All the best for your VAT and PA sessions.